Will be streaming any second now. Hopefully, we are on. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, guys, this is a Ukraine update. We're going to be talking about everything that you guys need to know with regards to the war in Ukraine. Guys, look, last night I was supposed to be talking about Ukraine on last night's live stream, but it just went on too long. So now what I'm going to be talking about is I'm going to do about an hour on Ukraine only. I'm going to give you guys the history of Ukraine. I'm going to tell you why this war is happening and what the likely outcome is. And I'm also going to give you guys a little bit of a history lesson. But don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, it's not going to be that long. So just before we start then, guys, last night there was a massive attack on Ukraine itself. And for those guys who've been following this channel, you guys, you know I said end of September, early October, going into November, that's when the Russians will change their attack tactics to start striking the power grid, the infrastructure, gas, electricity, water, to try and bring those utilities to a halt as we head into the colder months. Now, I'll read you this headline now, and then I'll just go on to what I was going to talk about, guys, okay? So, Ukraine-Russia war latest. Kiev says massive attack underway with power outages across the capital. I actually got a text message from my friend this morning. Oh, hang on, he's messaged me back. Give me a second. So I actually got a text message from my friend this morning. I'll just read you the text message this morning. Hi, mate. Left bank of the city and portions of the right bank have no electricity. Attack is ongoing. So that's, and then we were talking about other stuff. So the attack is real. The war is real. And for all those people who are saying that Russia is over, it's done, it's spent, it's finished, they're done, they're over, like, absolutely fine, guys. Russia's done, it's finished, it's over. Russia have lost the war. But every day Russia are taking ground. Every day Russia are taking continuing drone strikes. Remember this phrase, ladies and gentlemen, global conflict of an industrial scale. Right, so real quick, guys, I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of a history lesson. I'm going to give you the history of the conflict in Ukraine, but I think it's fair for you guys to understand how old Ukraine actually is. So the origins of Ukraine, Ukraine started off as something called Kievan Rus, which emerged around 860 AD, I guess, when the Viking Prince Rurik established rule in that region. Now, they are basically, from that context, this was a Viking settlement in around, like I said, around about 860. Now, fast forward a little bit, you then start to see the fragmentation of Kiev and Rus, and then you have Kiev, and then you have Russia going its own way. So in modern perspective, Ukrainians believe that Kiev and Rus, Kiev is the heartland, Kiev is the heartland of that region. So you've got Ukraine, you've got Russia, and you've got Belarus. And Kiev really is the heartland. And guys, look, anybody who's ever been to Kiev, it is a very special city. It's absolutely beautiful. So I just wanted to start this story back in 860. Yep, 860, guys. And what I want to show you guys is this Slavic Orthodox Christianity. This history starts a long time ago. And then you get all these mainstream media pundits that are like, oh yes, but this, you're like, no, stop. This history goes back a lot further than that. So from 860, guys, let's fast forward to 2013. So let's fast forward to 2013. Now, 2013, November 2013, you had the Euromaidan or the Maidan protest. The protest begin in Ukraine. Now, this was a mass demonstration after Viktor Yanukovych. He suspended an agreement that the Ukrainian parliament had passed to give them more ties with Europe. And he actually pushed in a new bill that gave them more ties with Russia. Now, look, guys, you've got to understand. Imagine right now, if you was in a country and just over the border, literally, like, I don't know, 30 kilometers away, Poland, people were doing the same job as you, they were producing the same goods as you, but they were getting paid 3 times more, and they had a better way of life. They had more rights. They had more, a better freedom of living. You would want that, wouldn't you, for your children? And that's what started the Euromaidan protest in 2013. Skip forward to February 2014. Violent clashes had broken out, guys, and I am skipping a lot of stuff. Violent clashes had broken out between government forces and the protesters, leaving over 100 dead. Now, Yanukovych then fled to Russia. You have, I think, maybe March 2014, you had the annexation of Crimea. Can you guys remember that, when the Russian forces went into Crimea and Putin said, "We have no regular Russian forces in Crimea"? And you're thinking, right, hang on a minute. And you had the whole world's media and the whole world's press just thinking, what's happening here, guys? What is happening? What's happening here? What's been going on here? And the Russians say, no, these are not Russian soldiers. It was blatantly obvious that they were Russian soldiers. They came from Russia. They were in Russian trucks. They had Russian uniforms. They were speaking Russian, and they had Russian weapons. But they weren't Russian. So, we obviously know now that they were Russians. April 2014, you had the Donbass separatist uprising. July 2014, you had Malaysian Airways, MH7. I always get mixed up because it was MH17 that got shot down over Donbass. I think there was almost 300 people on that aircraft that got killed. And when we talk about separatists and rebels and people wanting independence, I've done a lot of work in Northern Ireland, guys, right? And under no circumstances do like separatists or terrorist groups or, those types of people, when they've got their money and they're wanting weapons to fight government forces, they don't buy surface-to-air missiles. They're not needed. Then you had the Minsk agreement, the first Minsk agreement signed. Didn't work. So when people talk about a ceasefire in Ukraine, there's been plenty of ceasefires in Ukraine. They just never hold. They literally never hold. This is why when people are telling me, oh, Sean, Trump's going to have this ceasefire. He's going to do this ceasefire. I'm like, look, ultimately, all these ceasefires that are signed by men with little bits of paper, that has to get disseminated down to the ground forces, and those private soldiers need to stop shooting at each other. If they ain't going to stop doing that, doesn't matter how many bits of paper you've signed, ultimately those conflicts are going to continue. So that ceasefire broke down. February 2015, there was Minsk II agreement. There was lots of different iterations of the Minsk II agreement. Again, it never held, guys. It absolutely never held. The Minsk II agreement never held. Neither did the Minsk one. July 2019, Vladimir Zelensky, just for you guys, just for context, the word Zelensky in Ukrainian means onion. Lots of layers, guys. Lots of layers to that onion. 2019, Zelensky was elected. He beat, who is it? Petro Poroshenko. I met him several times. Petro Poroshenko, for context as well. In Ukraine, they call Petro Poroshenko, well, I suppose they do. They called him the chocolate president. He owns a chocolatier company called Roshen. Beautiful chocolate, guys. I always get the girls Roshen chocolate when we come back, when I come back from Ukraine. But he said in his build up to be elected, he was going to sell his company Roshen. If he gets elected, he's going to sell his company Roshen. He didn't. There was Roshen popping up everywhere. It is what it is, guys. 2019 to 2021, huge Russian military buildup on the borders of Ukraine. Huge buildup. And when I talk to you guys, and when I give you guys my real-time speculation, when you're talking about these global conflicts on an industrial scale, you can see it. You can't hide anything. Tanks, bombs, planes, trains, automobiles. You need that logistical buildup. You need that logistical chain. And without that, you're doing nothing. So when people ask me for interpretation, nothing is hidden anymore, guys. Okay. So February 24th, 24th, I think it was, February 24th, 2022. That's when the main Russian invasion began. Guys, it was absolutely wild. You guys can remember it yourselves. The Russians came down from the north, from Belarus. They came from the south, from Crimea, and then they went through Donbass as well. You know, it was an absolute swizzle, guys. You know, President Zelensky declared martial law. All the women and children, guys, it was fucking wild. It was wild, guys. And if anyone was out there at that time, I was out there at that time. Like, it was just crazy stuff was happening, guys. Absolutely crazy stuff was happening. Real, like, World War III stuff. I remember being in Kiev city center and remembering Kiev city center as this beautiful metropolis, vibrant. It was closed down. Doors and windows were boarded up. There were military all over the streets. It was wild, guys. It was absolutely wild. You'd be laid in the hotel at night. You'd hear whoop-boom, whoop-boom, whoop-boom. A hotel had been struck. It was crazy, guys. It really was crazy. Ukrainians mounted fierce defenses, absolutely fierce defenses. The initial Russian advance was slowed down. March, April, real big setbacks. It'd be difficult to it would be difficult to talk about the initial invasion of Ukraine without mentioning Bucha, Irpin, and Borodyanka. Now, guys, look, I'm not going to go into this. I've got to be very careful what I say while I'm on a live stream. There's been allegations of war crimes in those regions. Now, if you guys want to go and check that out yourself, I've seen a lot of footage from there. You know, I don't know where that's going. I know people are investigating it. But, you know, some really bad things happened there, guys. Absolutely unbelievable. September 22, the Ukrainians mounted a counteroffensive in Kharkiv. They managed to push the Russians out of Kharkiv. 2023, you know, there was a stalemate. There was the Wagner Group. I think that was Zelensky's first visit to the United States. What else have we got? We have got, I think it was June 2024, the Ukrainians invaded Russia. So the Ukrainians then went into Russia and went into the Kursk region. That was a real big deal. November 24, Trump won his election, and then ever since that, guys, you know, we have seen an absolute industrialization of drone warfare. We have seen an industrialization of this war, guys. That is the reality that has been, you know, I would say 2025 has been the year of industrialization. It's been the year of drones. It's been the year of, you know, it really has been the year of mass production of munitions. So that's a quick update. Like that, I've just ran through that, guys. I will come on to that in a minute once I've jumped up and got the questions. But as we are today, ladies and gentlemen, there's been a massive airstrike, massive drone strike, missile strike on Kiev's energy infrastructure. Half of the city, I'm told. Let me see if he's got back to me. Oh, hang on. I'm told half of Kiev as of today is without power. Obviously, the Ukrainians will be working hard to get that back on. That will happen at some point. But that is the conflict. And if you guys were on the live stream last night, when we jumped over to YouTube, we actually went on a little bit about this last night, how, you know, some people are coming on the comments and saying, Russia's over. And I said, okay, Russia's over. And we went onto the war map and we actually looked how Russia is taking ground every day. And I remember there was a town in the east of Ukraine. I can't remember the name, Vuldahar or something. And I can remember when that town actually got took. And what we did last night is on the ruler on the map, we actually measured the distance from Vuldahar to the front line now. And I think it's 60 kilometers in a straight line. So what you can see is even though some people in the mainstream media are saying Russia's about to collapse, Russia's done, Russia's over, the amount of ground they're taking, the reality on the ground does not reflect what people are talking about. Right, guys, I'm going to get the comments and then we'll get back into this. And good morning, everyone. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I just went into that, didn't I, today, guys? Look, guys, we are triple streaming today. We're on YouTube, we're on X, and we are on TikTok. Once I've done this live stream, I'm going to go and have a cup of tea, and I'm going to come straight back on, and I'm going to do another live stream, but I'm only going to be streaming on YouTube and X. The reason for that is there's been a lot of things happening in the last 48 hours regarding digital ID, regarding 3i Atlas, regarding NASA imaging, but I do want to do those as separate standalone live streams. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm going to jump over to TikTok first, guys. Cassie, Mark, Howes, Hugo, Patrick, Sherry, Queen, Fiona, Martin Quinn is saying good morning, everyone. Good morning to you, Martin Quinn. So's Debbie. Googly, share the live. Thank you so much. Remember, all the demonstrations will be stopping, and it will be 3i Atlas demonstrations. All right, okay, interesting, Martin. I am going to do another live. Guys, look, I know there's a lot of stuff happening with 3i Atlas at the moment, guys. I am going to do a separate live stream about 3i Atlas. Ban the aliens, that will be the next demonstration around the corner. Oh, guys, I don't want to steal my own thunder. I am going to do another live stream about 3i Atlas. Natalie say morning. DeMarie say morning. Googly say more than 450 drones attack Ukraine's energy sites. President Zelensky says, yeah, guys, look, if you're following this channel, you guys know that I've been saying that this is coming. It happens every year. Every year when the weather starts to get cold, that's when the Russians start to target the Ukrainian energy grid. Gets people cold, guys. Gets people cold. One of the things that I don't think everybody understands this, but some of the places in Ukraine, especially in Kiev, and I would say in the other regions as well, they have centralized heating. So I don't mean like everybody has central heating in their house. I mean like the block of flats or a block of flats will have a central core, and that will provide heating for all the houses. So all the houses will turn that on, and it's government subsidized. Now, if you take out those cores, or you manage to hit the gas system or whatever to take that out, then you're making a lot of people go cold. Guys, look, the coldest I've been in Ukraine is -26, and that's, for me, I don't know if you guys have ever been colder. If you live in the United Kingdom, you probably haven't, but that is very cold. But yeah, as Google is saying there on TikTok, more than 450 drones attack Ukraine's energy sites. Doesn't seem to me like Russia is over, does it? You know how you get these people coming out on the news, on the TV saying, oh, Russia's over, they're finished. You're like, where are you getting that from, mate? Because, like, I've got an ear relatively close to the ground here, and I'm seeing strike, 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 push, 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 push. I'm not seeing the counter to that, so I don't know. Maybe the Russians are done. And imagine if they were not done. And look, guys, I've said this, I'll keep saying this. The way NATO is structured right now, minus the United States, I need to be clear about that. The way NATO is structured right now, minus the United States, it's not a win for it's not a win for NATO. It will be early wins. It will be early victories, but ultimately the inevitability of the push. Silence is saying morning to you, Silence. Corey Reefin is saying I'm enjoying these little history lessons. Yeah, we started our history lesson this morning at 8:60, and not the time 8:60, because that would be 9 o'clock. The year 8:60 with Kiev and Rus. Martin Quinn is saying death early on Friday. Jody Lee saying morning all. Timsky saying morning all. Russia launching at least 3,000 drones. Right, I'm going to pin this, guys, okay? Because remember what we just said. So remember what we just talked about on the live stream there, guys. How 2025 has been the year of drone strikes. It has. It's been the year of drone industrialization. And can you guys remember, somebody tagged me in it actually. Somebody went onto one of my videos, like an old video, from YouTube, and they said, Sean, you got this bang right. Like, I've been talking about the industrialization of war and how this conflict is going to be a conflict on an industrial scale. Just earlier on, when we were talking about about 2025, I was saying, look, 2025 has been the year of industrialization. It's the year where the Russians have upped their manufacturing capacity, and they can now bang out masses and masses and masses and masses of drone attacks. Hang on, sorry guys, hang on. I just want to repin this comment from Google because it just went off, and I want to have that on the screen while I'm talking. So Google has put a comment there saying Russia is launching at least 3,000 drones a week on Ukraine. Guys, think about the production facilities. Think about the manufacturing facilities. Think about the manufacturing capacity that gives you the ability to be able to launch at least 3,000 drones a week. I remember, I think it was last month. I'm going to say it was last month. Last month, I think there was 3 days, and the first day it was biggest drone strike ever on Ukraine. Okay, yeah, it was 10th September, around about 10th September when all those drone strikes were happening. You had the biggest. It was, I don't know. Say the biggest was on the 10th, then the next biggest was on the 11th, and then the next biggest was on the 12th. 3 consecutive days, the biggest drone strikes, each one bigger than the last. You know, and what people don't understand is we're all putting everybody's wanting this money into like this, oh, we've developed this laser. Oh, we can shoot drones out of the sky with this laser. Waste of money. Oh, it's an EMP. We can drop drones out of the sky. Waste of money. Oh, it's a microwave emitter. We can pull drones out of the sky. Waste of money. Waste of money. Every one of those systems, guys, is a waste of money. The only way to defend against this, it's like being in a boxing match, guys. You know, you can practice your blocks all you want. The only way to defend yourself is to knock the other guy out. That is it. You ain't getting no more punches if that guy's laid on the canvas. That's the only way to realistically defend yourself against drones, guys. So all these lasers, EMPs, little devices, electromagnetic pulsers, jamming devices, each and every one of those, ladies and gentlemen, it's money wasted. You might as well buy me my moated castle, and I'll go out there with a shotgun, and I will give you guys more efficiency. So, you know, that's the reality of drone warfare. That's the reality of this conflict in Ukraine. It has been industrialized now. Right, let me get the rest of these comments, guys. Done that one. Sharon Owen is saying, good morning. Rishi Sunak joins Microsoft and AI firm as a paid advisor. Well, good for Rishi Sunak. Good for Rishi Sunak and his wife's dad's companies. Trump beaten to the Nobel Peace Prize by Venezuelan politician. All right, I didn't see that. Kaz is saying, morning all. I believe Tony Blair will end up being in charge of the Middle East. He's always wanted that. They'll be digging one hell of a canal. Google is saying, apparently Russia is using some canisters of substances now in drones. Are we talking like gas? Oh, possibly napalm or something similar. Mike Quinn is saying, I saw a video of a big drone releasing loads of little drones. Yeah, I think that may be the Chinese one. Look, guys, you know, all these all these CGI videos and these prototypes and this new weapon and this new engine. Guys, look. This war's going to be industrialized, all right? So little prototypes that you've got 2 of. Oh, we've got 2 of these prototypes and we're going to give them to our special forces and they're going to pew, 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 pew. It's not going to work, guys. This is a conflict on an industrial scale. You'll need bigger bomb. You'll need bigger bomb. 500 kilo minimum. 500 kilo bomb minimum. Take 500 kilos, send it to heartland of Russia, blow up machinery. Yes, they blow up drone factory. They will not deploy more drone. You know, that's what needs to be done. These little beep. So you know how these, let me just give you some more context, guys, when we talk about drone warfare. I keep saying I'm going to, should I do it now? No. So, you know, like these quadcopters, guys, you know, these little quadcopters that everybody's seeing the footage and they're, oh, wow, these are fantastic. They haven't changed the battlefield in the context of front lines pushing forwards or taking retreat. All they've done is replace artillery. Now, people are saying, oh, yeah, but it's a lot more accurate than artillery. Yes, I agree. It's a lot more accurate than artillery. So where you might need 5 or 10 artillery rounds, you know, at 20 kilometers, you can do it, you know, you can maybe do a precision strike. You still need a few, but you don't need as many. Because these things are very reliant on FPV, which would be first person view. So you have to have, like, I don't know, somebody with like a little controller flying that thing in. So for one drone, you need one operator. So it doesn't have the game-changing effects that people think it is. It's only replacing artillery. If you have artillery, you don't need drones. If you have artillery in plentiful supply, you don't need these drones, guys. You know, and I would say it's better to have artillery because one artillery gun can fire multiple rounds. The crew, maybe a 3-man crew on that artillery gun, or depending on what it is, can fire multiple rounds. Boom, 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 boom. One man can only control one drone. And that takes time for him to then navigate, or her, to then navigate that drone 20 kilometers. Now, at 60 miles an hour, that's going to take 20 minutes. So that means you've got one man doing this for 20 minutes. Right? And look, guys, I'm just giving you guys the reality of the situation. No, but like, look, guys, and nobody else will be able, like, guys, I can guarantee you this. Nobody on the internet will be able to give you as granular, in-depth insight into this conflict that I can. So on that bombshell, ladies and gentlemen, can you share my stuff? Like, comment, subscribe, guys. Really helps me out when you guys do that. So we're talking about drones, guys. There's several types of different drones. You've got the quadcopters. You've got the fixed wing, so little fixed wings. And then you've got the bigger, you know, the bigger Global Hawk Predator type drones that are there predominantly for surveillance. You might get like a couple of Hellfires under the wings or something. Lulswell is saying, I'm going to. I don't know what that means, but good luck, I guess. Danny Boy is saying, morning, everyone. Morning to you, Danny Boy. Mike Quinn is saying, it's good to know about why the war starts and who's doing what. Google is saying, 3i Atlas is legit, just a meteor. It's nothing special. That may be true. That may be true. But the perception, remember what I always say, guys, the reality doesn't really matter. It's the perception. Now, I'm going to do another video about 3i Atlas because a lot of information, again, a lot of perceived information. I don't know what the reality is, guys. I have no access to these telescopes. I don't have any access to these telescopes. I have no access to, I don't have the ability to look at 3i Atlas. What I do have the ability, though, is to look what people are saying, look what scientific reports are saying, and give you guys my speculation on that. Danny Boy is saying, Bradford stabbing yesterday, 4 descended to beams of light. That can't be right. That can't be right. I saw, okay, well, the video I've seen then must not be, guys, let me, right, I can't find anything. I've got 4 hurt. I've not got anyone's descended into a beam of light. You're going to have to tell me where you're getting that from. I did talk about this yesterday. I'm not getting anyone's being transcended into a beam of light. Timsky is saying Goose Bay, top of the world, minus 36. Yeah, it gets cold, guys. It gets cold. Google is saying soon, if we look at the war between Russia and Ukraine, look at the numbers in Taiwan and China. Yeah, huge numbers involved. Google is saying China can conscript 10 times more than Russia. You see, when we're talking about conscription, when we're talking about China being able to conscript, the Chinese have never been tested in modern warfare. I'm not saying they're going to do bad. What I'm saying is they've never been tested in modern warfare. Clearly the Ukrainians have, clearly the Russians have, clearly the Americans have, clearly the West have. China have never been tested in modern warfare. So I don't know whether they're going to rely heavily on technology. I don't know whether they're going to be going on, ground tactics. It's very difficult to judge how that's going to pan out. French police pepper spray migrants, try to stop them in the boats. CC Outdoors are saying good morning. So Martin Quinn is saying there were 2 stabbings, one in Bradford and one in Leeds yesterday. Danny Boy is saying, thought it said on the news, might have misheard it. Yeah, I was looking at the Bradford thing, guys. 4 people have been injured, 2 members of the public, 2 emergency services. And it looks like, guys, it looks like from the video I've seen, it looks like the guy is a home. Guys, I'm not going to comment on who the guy is. If you guys have seen the video, you'll know what the guy looks like. Google is saying Hamas leader issues statement to US to send troops for ceasefire. That'd be an interesting one, wouldn't it? Because these ceasefires never really hold in the Middle East. Daniel Payne is saying, do we think when the hostages are handed over, the bombs will rain down? Well, I think that's what the Hamas leaders are. So the Hamas, they're saying, look, we need US troops on. Look, been no illusion, Hamas, they're beaten. The whole of they're beaten. There's no way they kind of. I bet they wish they hadn't have started that, but that's kind of the point. So I think that's why the US are wanting to put boots on. I think that's why Hamas want US boots on the ground. And then Googly is saying, Googly is saying US to send 200 troops to Israel following the Gaza ceasefire agreement. Martin Quinn is saying, one of the videos shows here an Afghan man saying, you took my father and my family. Now I'm here. Yeah, guys, look, nobody can deny. Nobody can deny what's happening in the United Kingdom. We have a mass. So in 2021, there was okay, guys, look, let's just put this Ukraine context, take lessons that we learned from Ukraine and the mass and the 2022 invasion of Ukraine. Let's take those lessons and apply them to the United Kingdom. Oh, but Sean, nobody's amassing on our shores. No, you're right. They're amassing in our country. So let's just consider that before the 2022 invasion of Ukraine, Putin amassed over 100,000 soldiers, around 100,000 soldiers on the borders of Ukraine. 100,000. Guys, we have got well over 1 million people in our country right now. Well over 1 million people in our country right now who are illegal. They're the numbers, guys, okay? So can you imagine Putin, right? Putin doing his war assessment, and he's saying, and he's talking to Prigozhin or whatever his name is, and he's saying, Yura, how do we get troops into Ukraine? And he's saying, interesting, Vladimir. We could send them in on tank, but then Ukrainian would destroy tanks. So why don't we send them as refugee and make Ukrainian government pay for them? We make it happen very slowly over 3 years. That will never work, Yura. Ukrainians are not stupid. Let's try it, Vladimir. Let's try. What is worst can happen? Okay, let's try, Yura. And then over the length of 3 years, you just insert, you manage to get 1 million people into that country, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, guys, time to do modern warfare. You've got to understand these numbers now, guys. And what people don't understand is the numbers, the sheer numbers. And this is why I keep saying, guys, the scale, the size, the scope of these conflicts is unbelievable, guys. Absolutely unbelievable. Right, I'm going to jump over to YouTube a minute, guys, and then I will be back on TikTok. Remember, guys, today I'm giving a critical war update with regarding to Ukraine. We just talked previously about the history of Ukraine, starting from 860, I believe it was. We talked about the Maidan Revolution in 2013, 2014, the annexation of Crimea, the annexation of Donbass, the downing of MH17. We then talked about the 2022 invasion, the build-ups, the potential war crimes, the constant relentless push in the east of Ukraine. And now 2025, guys, I believe 2025 has been the year of industrialization, the year that drone warfare has been industrialized. And guys, look, here in the West, we still have not standardized. We still do not have standardization. The Russians, yes, okay, let's make one drone and everybody know how to use same drone. It's no problem. We make one drone. Europe from Vladivostok can operate same drone that Europe from Moscow can contribute. So, here in the West, we don't have that standardization. We're spending, let's give this professor another 100 million so he can develop a wonder weapon. There isn't any wonder weapons, guys. The reality of the situation, like every conflict, it's going to boil down to private soldiers closing with and killing the enemy. Close range, bayonets fixed, 5.56, 5.45 and grenades. That's it. That is it. So we're spending all this money on these little gadgets. Whee! They don't work. They don't work, guys. They don't work. Jace in the place is saying, Jace in the place with a fantastic, with a very interesting thumbnail is saying, the reason they have to tell us by using revelations of the method is because right, okay, I don't know what that means. Jace, can you give me more context, Jace in the place? I don't know what Jace in the place is saying there. You'll have to give me more context, mate. Maybe I missed your last. Okay, right. Sorry, maybe I missed your last message, which I did. Right, okay. Sorry. Right, guys, I'm going to jump up on YouTube because I'm getting the bottom messages and it's like the second part of somebody's message. David O'Rourke is saying China is about to reveal a fully autonomous AI-powered army. I don't know what that would mean. I don't know where that's from. I've certainly not heard anything. I can only think, that can't be a ground army. It's too complicated. But look, guys, I've watched Star Wars, the Drone Wars. It may be. Jason the Place is saying, majority of films, yes, especially Hollywood produced movies. This includes the, right, okay. I'm getting the back end of stuff here, guys. Right, Donna Hogan is saying Sweden to invest in anti-drone systems amid growing Russia threat. Guys, look, any of these anti-drone systems that use EMP, lasers, electric gadgetry, they don't work. I can guarantee you every penny spent will be a penny wasted. Sorry, Donna, let me just, guys, I just need to send something on a text. Give me a second, because I'm working, I'm multitasking. It's how I roll, guys. Sorry, guys, I just need to put something on the group chat. Oh, hang on, hang on. Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys. I've like got work to. I've like got loads of stuff. Well, I work. I've got a job. You know, I may have to download the digital ID at some point. I do, guys. I may have to download the digital ID. I don't know how I'm going to get around it, guys, but don't worry because I'm going to be talking about that later on when I come on. Yeah. So Donna Hogan there on YouTube is saying Sweden to invest in anti-drone systems, guys. Look, there isn't any. There is no anti-drone systems. The only anti-drone system is somebody with a gun shooting them. That is it, guys. That is the only anti-drone system. Believe me, all right? I know what I'm talking about. All these little gadgets, all this gadgetry that you're seeing, it doesn't work. It's not applicable. It's fake. It doesn't exist. Jace in the place is saying they will always tell us it's how we choose to receive the message that makes it our problem. No, not there is no, hang on. Not there's no matter how obvious or subliminal the message always are. Right, okay. So I think what Jace is talking about there on YouTube is something we spoke about before on this channel, which is a karmatic retribution. So again, I come on these live streams. I never know what questions I'm going to get. I will always try and answer as many questions as I can. So, Jace in the place. Was that song? Jace in the place, London. I don't know. Jace in the place is he's talking about what I think he's talking about, karmatic retribution. So, the example I give about karmatic retribution is: imagine you're a doctor and you've got an injection. And that injection is going to cause serious harm to someone, to you. Imagine I'm a doctor and I'm going to give you an injection. And I say to you, this injection is safe and effective and it's not going to hurt you. If I give you that injection, that's on me. That bad karma is on me. That afterlife karma, whatever you guys want to believe in, whether you believe it or not, I'm just saying what people believe in. That is on me then, because I've lied to you. If I tell you and put all the information out there that this injection is not safe and it's not effective and it really is going to hurt you, and you come and have the injection, that's on you. So I think that's what Jason's talking about there, guys. Right, guys, the chat's going crazy. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, the war in Ukraine. I'm going to give you this update because we are getting live updates now. Ukraine-Russia war latest. Kiev says massive attacks underway with power outages across the capital. Live updates, guys, from 20 minutes ago. Trump proposes barring Chinese airlines from flying over Russia on US routes. Okay, not going to achieve anything. Ukraine's top general says military struck Russian territory 70 times last month. This is what it's turning into, guys. So you understand now. You've got this front line, the Russian front line. Okay, again, talking about drones now. Everybody's talking about drone, counter-drone, anti-drone, counter-drone. Guys, it's all fake. It's all fake. It doesn't matter. The front line will be won or lost by private soldiers with bayonets fixed. Now, a good way you can support those private soldiers with bayonets fixed is to stop the other private soldiers with bayonets fixed from having water, food, and ammunition. You need to take out their logistics. So you can take out their logistics by taking out the trucks, very difficult to hit moving trucks, or you can go for those logistics depots that are way far back. And that's where I do think this war is going to be won or lost, guys. This conflict has turned into an absolute... This conflict really does mirror World War I and II. I mean, we still have people... Right now, as I'm speaking, there are people in trenches, guys. Literally, people in trenches. And at this time of year, those trenches will be filled with mud. filled with mud, both sides. That's happening, guys, okay? So the Ukrainians are saying we are destroying the production of fuel and lubricants, explosives, and other components for Russia's military-industrial complex. Literally, guys, what did I just say? What did I say earlier on before this was released? You know, that's where this conflict's going. All these little bits of drones and technology, they're not helping, guys. They're really not helping. You know what, guys? I'm not going to say they're not helping. They're not being disruptive. They're not a game changer. We have a something. I don't know what that is. Yeah, we've got the Sweden to invest in anti-drone systems. Russia says it would support Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. Yes, we'll support Donald Trump for Nobel Peace Prize. Right, guys, I'm going to give you guys bullet points now on the war in Ukraine. I am going to close down on YouTube, TikTok in a minute. I'll then jump over to YouTube, and then I'll close YouTube down. I'm going to go and have a cup of tea. I'm going to come straight back, and I'm going to do 3i Atlas, because a lot of things have been happening around 3i Atlas. For those of you who don't know, 3i Atlas is an interstellar traveler. It's on a very peculiar orbit. It's on a very peculiar trajectory. We don't know what it is. There's been a lot of strange information out about that. Now, Googly was saying over on YouTube, Googly was saying it's nothing more than an asteroid or a space rock. Let's just call it a space rock. That may be true, but there's something I always say on this channel is the reality doesn't matter. It's the perception of that reality. For example, if all mainstream media news outlets right now start reporting that aliens have landed in Scotland and they're making their way down, and there's some AI images of that, then aliens have landed in Scotland and they're making their way down. Doesn't matter what people think. That's what the perception is. So, you know, we have to, I think it's clear, it's key to understand that there's the perception and the reality, and those two things don't always marry up. You know, they don't always marry up, and especially for people who are not on the ground. Now, again, another Ukraine example. I can remember I was in Donetsk. I was in a place called Pisky, Pisky. Yeah, Pisky, Pisky. It's under in Russian control now. It's very close to Donetsk airport, and I can remember watching Russian tanks. Literally, guys, you know, with my own eyes, I'm seeing this now. And I can remember looking on social media, and there was so much like misinformation about it. People were saying, "Oh, that's from 2000 and something. Oh, that's in Belarus. I can tell by this." And there was so much doubt. People don't know what to believe, you know. So, like I always say, guys, you know, all the information is out there. You need to know what to look at. And there's always two aspects. There's the perception and there's the reality, you know, and those things don't always marry up. Right, where am I going to go first? Right, I'll get the rest of the comments on YouTube and then on TikTok, sorry, and then I will give you guys another brief outline of the Ukraine conflict, and then we will close this down. Yeah, done that one. Did anyone see Starmer talk about India digital ID payments? Yeah, Daniel Payne. When I jump off this live stream, I'm gonna go and have a cup of tea, maybe coffee. In fact, where is my coffee? Yeah, nice cold coffee. I am going to jump off here. I'm going to go and have another cup of coffee. I'm going to come back. I'm going to do 3i Atlas. I'll only be streaming on YouTube and X. I'm going to do 3i Atlas, and I'm going to do the digital ID as well, because a lot of stuff's come out about the digital ID. Danny Boy is saying, religion, war are man-made to distract us from the real truth about who we are and where we came from. Danny Boy, tell us, Danny Boy, who are we and where did we come from? I was born in Doncaster. Googly's saying, have you seen China's robot leg attachments? Oh, give over. We've got robot leg attachments. Are we like? Are we going full cyberpunk already? They basically help you move around. Carlos is saying, have the Tomahawks arrived yet? So look, guys, no. Although depending where you get your news from, Tomahawks are going, Tomahawks are not going. We've not decided. Look, guys, I feel it's unlikely. That's me. I feel it's unlikely. If it does happen, and I'm saying if it does happen, then those Tomahawks will be very, very closely guarded in the context that, hey, Zelensky, you're only allowed to shoot these Tomahawks at these 3 key facilities. We want them taken out by Wednesday. You know, that's the only way I see the US giving the Ukrainians Tomahawks. I don't see them giving them these missile systems and letting them just choose their own targets. China, Danny Boy is saying, China are building their invasion boats and capabilities day by day. Yes, they are, and you can't hide these things from satellite. All UK do is hand out IDs instead of our war machine. You know what? I saw a meme the other day. And it said like, it had like a picture. It said like China, and it said 2025 China, and it had like robots and AI and like massive, beautiful bridges. Like, have you seen that bridge in China, guys? There's like this beautiful bridge in China. And it's got like a waterfall that like, so like it's got a waterfall that comes off this bridge in China. So I think it must have like active supports or something. And this bridge, it's got a waterfall in the middle of it, but the waterfall, sorry guys, give me a second. Give me a second, guys. I need to click something on the screen because TikTok thinks I've run off. So I don't know if you've seen that bridge that they've built, that the Chinese have built. Beautiful bridge. Guys, I love a good bit of architecture. I do. I love architecture. Modern, not neo-modernism, but like, you know, I like the big mega structures. I think they're fantastic. I also like, you know, Gothic architecture. Anyway, China have built this huge bridge, and like in the middle of the bridge, they can turn this waterfall on. But the waterfall, they can make pictures in the waterfall by turning the water on and off. So it's like dotting things. And I was just thinking, wow, that is like beyond anything that's beyond anything. Like, it's just phenomenal, you know. And so the meme was showing you China and all this technology they've like, you know, produced, and it showed you the UK. And the UK have done, you know, the thing with the bottle tops, how the bottle tops don't fly off, and it was just doing a comparison. Betty Penny saying, morning, Sean. Morning, Betty Penny. Danny Boy saying, we are made from the Anunnaki, so we are descendants of alien gods. I feel like I'm an alien god anyway, guys. I don't feel like I'm descended. We can't stop the rubber dinghies. What will we do when the Russians come? Well, if you come over in rubber dinghies, we'll probably just let them in and like, yes, I am Russian military. I need to go in barracks. Oh, okay, you guys go over there. What about you? No, I am Islamic. No, I am Islamic. I forgot my Middle Eastern accent. I've been doing my Russian accent too long. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to close this down now on TikTok. I'm going to jump over to YouTube. I'm going to get the rest of the comments, get the rest of the chat on YouTube. Guys, if you're jumping on now on YouTube, on TikTok, I am going to jump over to YouTube and I'm going to give another outline of the Ukraine war. I'm just going to rattle through that. I'm going to start with Kiev and Rus in 860. I'm going to then fast forward to 2013, the Euromaidan. So, and the reason I'm doing this is because, you know, how you get these celebrities come on here and saying, yeah, well, the CIA was funding a secret war base. I think, okay, when were they doing that? Because if it was any time after 2013, the invasion had already happened. the invasion had already happened. So, and a lot of people don't understand the timeline, and the timelines are key, and people skew the timelines. All right. Timelines matter, guys. All right. They really do. Timelines matter. So when you get people coming up saying, the Russians were provoked into attacking, you think, all right, how were they provoked? Oh, the US military had secret CIA bases. When did they have them? Oh, 2016, all this money was allocated. So the CIA was provoking them in 2016. Yes. Okay, but the invasion happened in 2014. So they provoked them to invade after they invaded? I don't know. I'm a celebrity. I just say what I'm being told to say and make it sound really convincing. Guys. So a lot of these arguments that people give you, they just fall apart with basic logic. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to close you guys down now on TikTok. I am going to jump over to YouTube. I will be on YouTube for quite a while. I'm then going to I'm going to get Ukraine done. I'm then going to close it down. I'm going to do another live stream straight after that, after I've got another cup of tea. I'm going to talk about 3i Atlas, and I'm going to talk about the digital dystopia that is coming to the United Kingdom. And those two live streams are going to be exclusively on YouTube, guys. Anyway, if I don't see you over on YouTube, I will see you later on tonight at 8. Right, we are off. We're off, and I can have a drink of my coffee. I got this given by a Ukrainian unit. I don't know what that means. I think it means anytime, any place. I think that's what it means. Hang on, I may actually have to take a call. Give me a second. Right. Jason the Place is saying Michael Jackson, they didn't really care about us. Also, the revelation of method. Guys, look, I like Michael Jackson. I was listening to Smooth Criminal the other day, and I thought, guys, honestly, you don't get music like that anymore. You know where he goes into the club and he's dancing and he's got the machine gun and he flicks the coin. It's just beautiful. It's beautiful. And then I watched I can't remember what I went on a bit of a Michael Jackson thing. I was like, wow, he banged out some fantastic music. Tug's Life is saying, did NATO break a deal not to weaponize Russian borders after the Berlin Wall came down, or am I wrong? Did NATO break? Okay, so with this NATO encroachment, with this NATO movement, the problem is it's all about money. It's all about money. I'm going to use Poland now as an example. Now, Poland was not part of NATO, and it shouldn't have been, and now it is. I think that happened like 2000. Guys, look, I'm doing this off memory, so the dates might be a little bit off. I do this in real time, so you guys know that I know what I'm talking about, and and in that way, you guys know that you can trust me. So I'm gonna use Poland as an example. So Poland was a post-Soviet state. Now, Poland became part of NATO, I think, I want to say like in the early 2000s. It might be 2001. I don't know. Maybe 2002. It doesn't matter. So what happens is when you become part of NATO, you need to have NATO equipment. So you need to have NATO jets. You need to have NATO helicopters. You need to have a NATO rifle, which would fire 5.56, 7.62 long. And in that, it is a massive financial. There's big contracts to be had, huge contracts, like huge defense contracts. So what happens is, this is my speculation, and this is what happens. you get these big defense contractors coming out and they lobby politicians. There's one in, I can't remember who he is. I think he's Labour. I think he's the Labour MP for like Doncaster or somewhere. He's always harping on about, oh, we could get Boeing moving into Doncaster. I'm like, that makes no sense. So I would speculate that these big defense contractors donate to key politicians and then get them to bring that country into NATO. Once they're brought into NATO, there's huge contracts. There's a shit ton of money then has to be spent on NATO equipment. And then underneath that, all the post-Soviet era kit and equipment, brokers go in there and they disassemble that because it's all government paid for. Nobody really owns it. They convince someone in the government they own it, then they buy it off them. Then they sell that to the Middle East. So that's how the whole structuring works. I understand from the Russian side point of view, it's intimidating because they're encroaching. But ultimately, guys, that is capitalism. That is literally capitalism. You have better products, you have better service, people work harder for it. And that's the reality. It's capitalism that's pushing forwards, not really NATO. Anyway. Slim is saying current affairs take time and work. Conspiracy theories are intellectually lazy and think they know more than all those around them. It rips my knitting. It rips my knitting. I don't want your knitting being ripped, Slim. Right, guys, real quick, I'm just going to give you guys a brief synopsis of So I'm going to talk about Ukraine a little bit. I am going to rattle through this real quick, guys, okay? So Ukraine started, again, the exact date, it's difficult, that back then nobody said, this is Kiev and Rus, But most historians say that Kiev and Rus, which is modern-day Kiev, emerged around 860. Now, this was settled by the Vikings. By mid-1200s, there'd been a split, and they have Kiev and they have Russia going the other way. So Kiev is like the spiritual birthplace of that Slavic region. So you've got, I would say you've got modern day Ukraine, modern day Russia, certainly the western part of Russia, and Belarus. They're all under that same historical framework, I guess. You've got to understand, Putin loves his history, and Putin wants to restore the spiritual heartland of Russia, which is Kiev. Now, so that's 860 to 12, call it 1250 or 1250 and change. Now, let's fast forward real quick to 2013. 2013, there was the Maidan Revolution. This came about because the president of Ukraine, then Viktor Yanukovych, wanted closer. The Ukrainian government, so the prime minister, the government, they'd all passed a bill that gave Ukraine stronger economic ties to Europe. When the president came to ratify that bill and sign it, he didn't sign it. He tore it up, threw it away, and signed another one that gave him closer ties to Russia. That's what started the Maidan Revolution. Fast forward to 2014, there was the annexation of Crimea, annexation of Donbass, the downing of MH17. 2015, you had the Minsk agreements, the Minsk and Minsk II ceasefire agreements. Never held, guys, never held. I was out there in those agreements, and this is why I always laugh about ceasefire agreements. They never hold, because ultimately, you need to tell those private soldiers on the front line to stop shooting. And if they ain't going to stop shooting, you ain't got ceasefire. And that's the reality. 2019 to 2021, I am skipping through quite a lot, guys, okay? You had the Russian military buildup on the borders, 100,000 troops. Thereabouts. Now, do you think we have in the United Kingdom more or less than 100,000 illegals who could be conceived as military? A lot of the places that these migrants come into the United Kingdom, a lot of the places they come from are places that have conscription. So it would lead to the assumption that a lot of these people that are coming over on boats have military training. Now, the scale and scope of that could be, I could question that, but, that's the reality. So February 2022, you had the main Russian invasion, multi-pronged attack. They came down from Belarus in the north. They came up from Crimea in the south, and they came over from the east, the eastern Donbass region. Major setbacks. I will put these setbacks. The initial setbacks were due to the I-laws. Is it I-laws? N-law. Sorry, the N-law. The N-law rocket launcher that the British gave them. That was, what, guys? That was the main thing that stopped them. Yeah, that was the. If I was to put my finger on one piece of kit and equipment that stopped the Russian advances, it was that N-law. The N-laws are fantastic. I think it's Swedish, actually. It's British, but I think the warheads, I'm pretty sure the warhead's actually Swedish. The engineering behind it is phenomenal. It's a really good piece of kit and equipment. There isn't enough of them now. They've all been used, and that tactic is no more. You literally had Ukrainian civilians, actually. A lot of these people were civilians. They were getting these things, and they were firing them at really close range. Now, people are going to say, oh, but Sean, the Milans, not the Milan. Go on. The Javelin. Oh, the Javelin's better. They're two different systems, guys, right? The Javelin is made to strike targets up to at 3 kilometers. That's where it excels. Top attack at 3 kilometers. Now, the N-law, that's your knife fighter. The N-law is the dirty piece of kit and equipment that you can use up close and personal. And in this conflict in Ukraine, that in the Battle of Kiev, that's when it was, guys. It was up close and personal. And the N-law, I would say, that was the one key piece of equipment that had a massive disruptive outcome. You've got 2023. There was pushing and shoving. You had the thing with the Wagner group where you got Prigozhin. Then his plane blew up. You've got Avdiivka falling in 24. You've got the Ukrainians moving into the Kursk region of Russia. Crazy stuff happening in 24. 2025, the year we're in now, that is the year of industrialization. And guys, listen, you guys are on YouTube. Go and check out my previous videos. Go and look. I've talked about this like over a year ago, talked about how this war is going to be a war on an industrial scale. And it is, and it will be, and it's going to get worse. And what we don't understand here in the West is there's no piece of fancy equipment that's going to win. There's no wonder weapon that some scientists can develop. Oh, let's put our money in science. We need stuff, guys. We need tanks, bombs, guns, trains, planes, automobiles, and a shit ton of drones. That's what's needed, and we don't have them now. And we need standardization of that kit and equipment. So a German company would be able to build the body for a British drone, and then they would be able to interchange parts. We don't have that at the moment, guys. So I'm giving you guys as quickly as I can a rough update on Ukraine. I'm going to get the last questions, guys. Donna is saying, oh, Donna's talking to Mr. Bites. Right, where's Mr. Bites? Mr. Bites is saying, did anyone see a bright green flash like an explosion in the Stafford area? No, I did not see a bright green flash. I don't live in Staffordshire area, but, maybe someone did. Only does everything make sense without the need of a rabbit hole conspiracies? I agree, guys. When we talk about conspiracies and stuff, I agree. Like a lot of these conspiracies can be swept aside. I will go with, when I'm looking at something, I'll think, right, could this be a cock-up rather than a conspiracy? Most things are a cock-up, but, conspiracies are definitely there, guys. They're definitely there. And I think I think the best way to describe this is what Edward Snowden said. See, Edward Snowden was on, he was on like Joe Rogan like a couple of years ago. And what Edward Snowden was saying is the real conspiracies are not the ones hidden behind not the ones hidden in dark rooms. The real conspiracies are the ones that are out there and made public and everybody then they can get parliamentary assent or royal assent or whatever it is. Or if you're in the United States, they get approved by the Senate. They're the real conspiracies. Digital ID, certain medications, all these things that are coming, and you can see them. Mass migration, these are the real conspiracies. So I will always go with cock up rather than conspiracy. But ultimately, guys, sometimes the cap fits and it does have to get worn. South Staff's Paranormal is saying, "Oh, guys, you guys have got it there. You've got your answer. Great team. Well done, team." South Staffordshire Paranormal is saying it was a power transformer explosion by Great Haywood, Staffordshire. So remember what we say about these. Let me guys, real quick, I'm just going to Google this. I do need to close down, but then I'll go and get a cup of tea and I'm going to come straight back and I'm going to do 3i Atlas. Great Haywood, Staffordshire. Let me see what's around there. Any military bases? Doesn't look like there's anything there. No, doesn't. Well, I'm not saying there isn't anything there. I'm just saying it doesn't look like there's anything there. There's a lot of nice halls around there. You've got Shugborough Hall. You've got a monument. You've got Tixall Lock. You've got, my God, Shugborough Estate. Jesus Christ, that place is beautiful. The Shugborough Estate is phenomenal. Wow. Litchfield Lodge. Right, guys, lots of beautiful places around Great Haywood. Okay, so it may be military. What I always say is, these substations and electricity plants, people can set them on fire. And if you are the Russian bad guys, and you want to cause trouble in the United Kingdom, you're not going to send missiles over. You're just going to pay criminal gangs to set fire to things. Jason the Place is saying, using predictive programming, you can calculate possible events like how The Simpsons does, but revelation of the method is the Freemason tool to script the book of Revelations written in 96 CE. Right, okay. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to close this down now. You guys have been fantastic. Thank you for hanging out with me. I wanted to give you guys just a little bit of more on Ukraine, because I do think people kind of forget what's happening there. Last night there was a massive drone strike. As I understand it, 60% of Kiev is without. Oh, there's been an update 9 minutes ago. Give me a second. Russian MiG-31 jet crashes during landing near Ukraine. Has that landed? No, it's landed in Russia. The aircraft crew ejected. Yeah. Right. So I wanted to give you guys a little bit more of an update on Ukraine. That war is not going anywhere, guys. It's not going anywhere. People are trying to invest money in this fancy technology. It's not going to work, guys. Ultimately, that war is going to be fought by privates on the front line, bayonets fixed, 545 magazines on, and some grenades. That's the reality. You can help those soldiers by, taking out the supply chains on either side, and you can help your soldiers, by doing that. I'm going to close this down now, guys. I'm going to go and get a cup of tea. I'm going to get a cup of coffee. I'm not going to get a cup of tea. I'm going to come straight back on in about 5 or 10 minutes, and I'm going to do a live stream for maybe like 10 or 15 minutes. And I'm just going to be talking about 3i Atlas. So if you guys want to stick around for that, absolutely fine. If not, they'll all be uploaded. I'm just going to do them live streams now, guys, because they're a lot easier for me to work through the algorithms. Because if I do a standalone video, the buttons you have to press are phenomenal. Anyway, guys, if you're not going to be joining me in 10 minutes or 20 minutes when I talk about digital dystopia in the United Kingdom, then I will be back on tonight at 8. No doubt there'll be more information from the Middle East. No doubt there'll be more information from Ukraine, and we'll be talking about that, guys. But anyway, listen, guys, remember what I always say: bad things happen on a Friday, and it is Friday. I'll see you guys later. Thank you so much for hanging out with me this morning.